been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. Yeah.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in that wonderful technical rainbow in between, tonight is a very special night. Now, I know there's some news about some big hoo-ha that's happening in America right now, but that's not important. This is a special night because this is League of Legends here at the Titan Esports. It's the Vanquisher League, and we got a pretty banger matchup tonight. I'm with Brady and joining me tonight. Finally, back again. We stopped dodging each other. It's Golden Gad. How you feeling tonight, Golden?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Ready to get into this game in the Vanquisher League. It's week 6, so we're seeing some cross group gameplay, of course. So gonna be pretty excited to see how this turns out. We're gonna have Iridescent Dawn. Sorry, I'm pulling up the Ignite. That's correct. And then Exalted Gaming on the other side. So we'll have to see who ends up taking the win. I'm pretty excited. You know, the game's about to change again. The patch is coming in tomorrow, but today's the final game of 1421. Pretty instrumental patch. We were going over some of the changes, just so we're up to snuff right before the stream started. And yeah, the game's definitely changed. I'd make one specific call out if I had to Corki. That champ is disgusting. I know the patch notes came out. I haven't had a time to look at it for 1422, but I sure as hell hope that is in that list. But yeah, there it is, the big docket here.
Yeah, I think some of the biggest changes that happens on this patch is actually something we didn't get to talk about before the broadcast. It's the bounties changes that really is a big deal. The big Scion Baus FFS nerfs that came through, that bounties are calculated a little differently now. You're not going to see them at those nice smooth number intervals. They are calculated, I think, pretty much down to the individual gold count that each player has, and should be tracking a little bit more accurately. So when you see those big shutdowns, it really does mean that you have a massive lead, and killing you will be pretty important. But other than that, a lot of light nerfs coming through for some champions. Brand got touched pretty hard. Fiddlesticks got a light nerf. Yone got a light nerf, but his main item, Blade of the Ruined King, maybe a lot less nice off after that. But overall, I think a pretty spicy patch. And again, it's the last week, it's the last game that we're going to be seeing on this patch. So who knows what's going to happen next week when we step into 1422.
Yeah, things are about to change for sure. But I'll put another note here on the bounties at the very least. I've heard a lot of people saying that the real effect of these bounties, it's a lot harder to come back in these games. The bounties they don't stack as well as they did before, since it's a lot more accurate to gold. So once you get 1 or 2 bounties, they don't come back online on the other team as like they used to, or you know, somebody having like a 10 CS lead doesn't result in a 150 gold bounty anymore. It's a lot more specific, and you got to find other unique angles to get back in these games other than just trying to fill your wallet. So yeah, it's definitely created some new, I guess, more scaling type comps where you need to stay in the game. You can't afford to just give all losing lanes and try and scale back in these games, because it's just much harder right now. You need to have some sort of agency in these games.
Yeah, which I think is really important, because we haven't seen a lot of scaling compositions in general. It's why you see those nerfs targeted at Senna, at Elise especially, because she has become so strong, at Karthus, at Kassadin, at Nasus, a big deal up there in the top side. But with Worlds now wrapping up, we didn't get to see any of this patch on Worlds, obviously, but the effects of Worlds ripple out, I think, patches and patches beyond as the meta starts to shift. As we saw Galio get touched to this patch, who I think probably wasn't on anybody's radar until we saw him, not maybe in the Worlds final specifically, but at Worlds in general.
Yeah, that tank build where you get to full clear the wave just with a tank item is pretty interesting, and definitely made that champ have a bit of a strange kind of storyline there. I will say, like, I haven't seen much Smolder. That champ's been notably absent. I think the games are just too fast. Yeah, I think they're just too fast for the Smolder to actually get online. Acel also got nerfed on the patch, and that's not going to look very good. Some scaling picks in the bot lane still work, like, you know, Sivir works to some degree, but that's mostly because she actually does pretty okay into Corki, who is just a dominant powerhouse across the board. If you ever have gotten hit by a Corki Q in this last patch, it feels unfair. It's like 300 damage, and after getting one serrated Dirk, and it's like, okay, well, I guess my lane's over. That's cool. Pretty cool stuff there, and also, you know, mobile AD carry. Yeah, just interesting changes here coming through. And
on the current patch, I think
I hope to see some priority there. Same for Ashe. Obviously, Ashe still, I don't know, they just don't want to get rid of this champ. Makes sense. You know, let's just enchant a Crystal Arrow and also have almost the highest damage of any AD carry. That's cool.
Yeah, Ash's damage is probably a little bit too high currently, but we're not here to talk about the balance of League of Legends. We're here to talk about the games, and this is where we're going to start talking about the teams themselves. Like you mentioned earlier on the day, we've got Iridescent, Dawn, Ignite, and we have XG Exalted Gaming. So on the Iridescent side, we've got CV Batman up there on the top side, Rigor Mortis in the jungle, Blazing Cake in mid lane, and Mystic and Rescued rounding it out in the bottom lane. And this is a team that has been finding some really good success throughout the season. 3-2 overall record with an 8-4 game record shows that they have been finding some very serious success over the course of their series.
Yeah, and another thing to note, just for off of, I like to always scrub with it what they're playing in solo queue. I guess the main thing I'd call out here is that Rescued does play a lot of enchanters. That's pretty much the MO there. Mostly Lulu, Lux, Seraphine, so expect more aggressive AD carries in the bot lane. Maybe some sort of competition to at least be able to maybe push out a Corki if you find the right damage mix there. It's still going to be pretty hard, but maybe that's an angle that you can look towards. But besides that, nothing really too out of the ordinary. Expect some pretty heavy AD junglers out of Rigor Mortis as well. So yeah, I think they have a pretty good solid core here that they get to play around.
Yeah, and on the other side of the map, we've got Exalted Gaming, who are struggling a little bit more, 2-3 in their game record with a 4-6 series record. Doesn't feel great for them, but they do have a Wild Terry up there on the top side, Phoenix Flare in the jungle, Earl King in mid, Zafa in AD carry, and not Vexrax in the support tonight. It will be one of their substitutes. I'm finding that name. I was just looking at it literally a second ago. It is Hawk in for Vexrax.
Yeah, so pretty cool stuff. I will say my one call out here is both Earl King and Zafa have been playing a ton of Corki. If you're Iridescent Dawn, I would highly suggest banning this pick. Both of them have, upwards of 10 to 40 games on that pick, so I would definitely stray away from that one. Another one, Talia, is actually Earl King's main pick, and you'll see sitting at Masters currently, so has outranked the division at this point after starting within the bounds of it. So that definitely shows some sort of proficiency on these more recent patches.
Yeah, I think over the course of the series that we have seen, Zafa and Earl King really have been players to watch. They have been some very, very impressive performers, and with their champion pools that allow them to do that sort of, not team-oriented carrying, I would say, but allow their team to get around them very easily. Like, you think about champions like Talia, like Corki, these champions that are very easy for your team to say, okay, this is my one-trick 1v9 carry if I pick a utility champion, or even if I don't, as long as I'm keeping them alive, we've got a good shot at winning the game.
Yeah, so I think both these teams have pretty clear identities. You want to play around your pretty solid carries with some supportive picks on the top side, or you can even swap it up a bit. But we're going to see how it plays out in the draft here in Game 1. One thing also to note, right before we get into this game, this is pretty important for both these teams. They're right on the edge of playoffs for both of them, so they're going to need to grab this win if they do want to make it there. So Skarner getting banned, no surprises there. Heartsteel still probably one of the best items in the game, does a ton of damage. Viego, a pretty strong pocket pick there for Rigor Mortis, so going to get taken off the table immediately. Yeah, I expect some ADC carry nerfs. There it is. The Talia. Specialty pick.
I wouldn't be shocked if XG does start to ban out a little bit more of those heavy AD junglers. Viego, like you already mentioned, off the table. Nocturne, there's another one that's great for that team-oriented support. That Paranoia is such a impactful ultimate, and I would be really surprised if XG ends up going 3 for 3 on jungle bans, but IDI doing their homework, getting rid of that Aurora as well, not letting Earl King have their hands on that one. And XG, what's your last ban coming into this? Because now with the Huaygon, IDI have a pick of the litter of a lot of very strong champions, and there is one that I'm noticing that did not get touched, Golden. Corki is up and available for both of these.
Yeah, and as I said, it's a flex pick for XG, so I would like to see it picked, but they're going to take the other side of that trade. It's going to be Ashe here that you do get to actually at least engage on this Corki, but one thing to note is you do have both Valk and Cleanse most of the time against Ashe, so it's not exactly the easiest thing to pull off there, and the Corki's going to get grabbed immediately. And now I'm scared, because obviously you compare this with both Enchanters and Engage. And, last week we saw Corki plus Yuumi, actually, in this league, which was a terrifying prospect that completely dominated the game. Sejuani's going to be the lock-in, so a very, very safe jungler. Could get flex potentially to top lane. Haven't been seeing it as much, especially with a lot of the Sejuani damage nerfs. Wukong's going to get locked in here, and Wukong's pretty strong, especially into these melee bruiser type carries. We'll see if they end up going towards any of those for Exalted, and Wukong also has a lot of staying power in these fights, can find the engage, and Corki can't really do too much about a Wukong sticking on, so I think it's a pretty big pick there. Syndra gonna get locked in, and you can't pick both Barrier and Cleanse here, so that puts Corki in a pretty tough position, but Sylas is gonna be locking, gonna take that Cyclone right away.
Yeah. This is a fantastic Sylas angle. You already have the Sejuani. She loves having melees on her team, so getting that melee in mid to guarantee something there feels awesome. But you have the Syndra ulti for a little bit of extra damage is nice, but looking at an Ashe and a Wukong, and it also preempts a lot of, hey, if you're going to pick some powerful ultis, if you're thinking about a Malphite or an Alistar, you're not going to grab it when you see Sylas on the other side of the board. But speaking of the support picks, I did want to mention, because XG has that substitute support, Hawk and Rescued have a lot of overlap in their champion pools, and I was wondering, as XG bans out that Lulu, if there was going to be any bans targeted toward those enchanters, since it is going to be such high priority with these hyper carries on the bottom side.
Yeah, the Poppy ban's curious. I expect something that could actually potentially be countered by Poppy from the side of IDI, something like a Jax, maybe.
Yeah, Greg's Poppy tells me that they want the Jax pick, and XG are going to say, okay, if you want it, we'll just take it for ourselves.
Yeah, so now Jax in the pocket of XG, since both the counter picks just got banned out. So now you have to think, what are you actually going to play into this Jax? I'd expect something like a Malphite, but they're going to go for the Outway completely out of left field. And this does extremely well into all these melee carries for XG. You know, Sejuani loves to get up and close and proc that passive over and over, but if it's an Alawi, it's going to be pretty tough. And there it is, the queen of sustain, I'd say. Seraphine really scales extremely well in the bottom lane, and also paired up with the Ashe is a completely dominant force, since you get to just get those instant lockdowns on the roots because of the slope already being applied. This is a pretty big game, and then Soraka's going to be a bit of a counter. Maybe you're able to stave off a bit of that Alawi damage and get a good fight going, but I think this is a pretty good draft overall from both of these teams.
I have to say, looking at both these drafts, I've got my qualms with both of them, but I'm looking at IDI with just Ashe Seraphine in the bottom lane, and if this bot lane doesn't get behind, which, you know, against Corki, big ask, but if they don't get behind, this is a bot lane that can take over a game. But you're also looking at Sylas Sejuani able to roam down there and cause problems. Soraka sustain, you already mentioned, really making it absolutely difficult to actually take these picks down.
Yeah, and also
it's gonna be rough.
Sylas is great with Seraphine, Ashe, Wukong. These ults are extremely monumental here for that Sylas as well, so it's going to make these fights even more difficult to navigate. But as you said, I do believe in IDI's backline. There is a lot of threat from the side of XG, but it's not so easy to execute when it's a Syndra and an Alawi, so I really do trust this side for IDI, and I think XG is going to have a pretty hard time if this Corki doesn't come out to a roaring start. It's a little bit difficult when you do have a Soraka there. I do have some troubles finding the engage. It's going to need to be a pretty big counter, counter strike flank from the Jax, or maybe a Glacial Prison. You find the one pick and kind of peel off a little bit. So it's a pretty tough look overall.
Yeah, I am hearing from our producer that we're having some issues with spectators, so I'm going to send us to a break right now while he tries to get it fixed. It might be a global issue. We're going to cut to a break for now. If we come back, hopefully it will be with good news with a League of Legends match, but if not, we'll let you guys know. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Take care.
my side, my side. Without you by my side. One time from side to side. Peekaboo, I see you, peekaboo, I see you, looking at me, looking at you. Hold up, where you going? What you doing? Who you seeing? What you need? What you want? I said, without you by my side, my side, my side. Without you by my side. One time from side to side. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. One time from side to side. walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. Yeah. I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Welcome back, everybody. Unfortunately, we have good news and we have bad news. The good news is we are going to be watching games of League of Legends tonight. The bad news is we're working off of the raw files because the Spectator client is having global issues currently. So we're going to be a game behind. So if you know any of the players, if you're in communication with any of them, ask them for no spoilers if you're going to be watching the series. And players are going to have to keep their eyes out on the stream that they don't spoil us as we come into game number, hopefully game number 3, if we get a good 3-game series tonight. But we'll see if we get that far, as we're going to finally hop onto the Rift for game number 1.
Yeah, coming in. If you guys remember, this draft is quite close. I was very impressed by both of these teams, how their flexibility was, and I think overall we kind of lean towards IDI having the kind of slightly better comp since it's a bit easier to play, but you know, I think we'll just say it. You know, the game was a very long game considering how long we waited. I think it's good to preface that. So it's gonna be close. So we're gonna have to see how it ends up turning up. And Earl King's gonna start off with a nice trade level 1. This is extremely good for a Sylas lane since you do gain HP back in lane.
The bad manners. What happened to the League of Legends I love, where the mid laners dance with each other at level 1? What happened?
Nah, this is all blood. These are games for playoffs. So. You know, you got to make sure you make it count. Each one. Pro comps, shout out there. Gonna put a draft comps score to about 55% for IDI here.
I'm surprised that it's that high. I would have thought it would have been within a couple percentage points, but I think they do just really highly value the flexibility and the utility that Ashe Seraphine brings.
I also think it could be also that Alawi is very strong in solo queue.
But it is also worth mentioning, if you're looking at the stream and you're saying, hey, this isn't the matchup that I thought my friend was playing on, or that I thought my team was playing on, where are they? You can see at the bottom of your screen there, Titan Esports 2 is showing off the True Minded Gaming Death Knights game versus Akuma. So if that's the game you're expecting to go watch, you can hop over there, catch them out. They should be in game number 2 probably right now, hopefully, as our game went a little bit long. But we'll have to see how this game number 1 plays out. As early game, we're seeing the poke that we're kind of expecting to out of these lanes. Jax gets early level 2, and Earl King gets level 2 as well. And
that's a disconnect if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, 100% disconnected, and Earl King, no mercy, is just going to take the first blood.
Yeah, you just take those. I think it's more wise to take them. You know, if the pause was pretty long, maybe that's why the game took so long, you know? Now,
potentially, there might have been a pause that lengthened the game time, so maybe we will be a lot closer to the next game than we actually think, but we're going to have to wait and find out. We won't get the pause here as we are working on the raffle file, so we won't have to wait through the whole pause timer. So thankfully, we get an uninterrupted experience of League of Legends throughout the entirety of this podcast.
Yeah, which is great considering where we were. We are now in game, and I'm pretty excited here. Of course, we did talk about how this bot lane is a little bit rough here. Ashe Seraphine kind of dominated the meta for a while. You were seeing it even with like Ashe support, Seraphine, APC, but now it's kind of roles reversed since the Seraphine did have her power drop just a little bit. As far as being a full carry, you don't need as much gold for the current build she's running. But they are going to still have quite a dominant showing here. In the top lane, Alawi, Jax. I'd say a pretty even matchup. Jack can't really get out to a big early lead against Alawi, which is kind of the biggest reason you'd pick this champ, but eventually does set up ganks well enough that it could be possible to kind of turn the tides here. Sejuani is on the top side, and Wukong just clearing on the Krugs. So split map, going to start off this game, and I expect to see some action in top lane not too far from now.
Yeah, I do also expect the early game is going to be a little slow here. I think the junglers do want to make ganks happen, but some other lanes don't make it very easy, as Blazing King does have flash, gets a nice stun back there, but the flash forward from Earl King is going to stack that passive, and Phoenix Flare is going to say thank you very much. Down the top side, CV Batman's going to pull that soul, so Terry will be forced back, but a nice gank there for Phoenix Flare is going to set XG even farther ahead.
Yeah, Wild Terry taking a lot of poke here. If you ever get the souls unbound on you. Now Phoenix Flare immediately to top side, but I don't know if you could actually gank this. Alawi pretty healthy and with that getting grabbed.
I mean, she has low mana, so this is possible that Phoenix Flare can just 1v1 this, but you have to be so careful. The Aftershock is going to get popped on. Terry, how good is your sidestepping? The fancy footwork is going to get away, and CV Batman is going to walk away from the 1v2 happy and healthy.
Yeah. Alawi, I mean, that is kind of why you don't really pick Sejuani. Just low damage, no dueling potential in this early game. Makes it pretty hard. There's the Q from Corki.
Zaffa, he wants to get in. They're going to force the flash and the heal out of rescue, but now Mystic gets to free fire. How good is Pox healing? They're going to port the summoner heal. Zaffa flashing forward, wants to find the kill. Autos the minion, still gets the kill in the rescue, but it's going to be traded back immediately as the jungler, her ID, comes in and sets it right. Mystic picks up the credit, and it ends up being 1-for-1, but I think honestly a slightly for IDI.
Yeah, that was not too bad, and your Corki does go down here. You're going to lose a little bit of farm here. But you saw how much damage that Corki Q just did, level 1. I mean, that's just annoying. Seraphine at least able to kind of kite it out, make a little bit more resources committed. Nice stun up there from Earl King. Not going to find too much besides a bit of damage and a first strike gold. But you're seeing actually pretty good map rotations from Exalted Gaming here. And it's kind of put them out to a bit of an early lead, 700 gold strong so far, despite how the top lane looked a bit rough. Jax is actually currently up in CS.
Up a little bit and actually control of the wave as well. I think until CB Batman gets that level 6, it will probably remain that way. So Terry gets a little bit more time having control of the laning phase as he now dings at level 6, but soon CB Batman will get that level 6, will get that leap of faith, and no more ganks will be coming top lane as you don't give Alawi that 2v1.
Yeah, you don't really want to give that option, especially since, as I said, Sejuani very low damage. We see some pings towards the dragon here. Seems like IDI wants to use their control from having this Ashe Seraphine and actually convert that into a Drake here. So you can see Rick Mortis walk straight into that buff. But they're going to trade over the grubs. And I'd say that's pretty good for them. They do have Silas and Jax. You know, these melee champions a lot quicker at tearing down these turrets when given the opportunity. And there will be a lot of side laning considering what the comps that have been drafted.
Yeah, I do think giving Jax grubs is scary if you're IDI, but you have a strong bottom lane that is not behind currently, so you have an opportunity to play through them. If you can bail your Syndra out of this lane a little bit, play through your side lane, maybe try and shut down the Jax, as CB Batman's going to miss that Test of Spirit and Terry immediately with the punish. That's how you play against Alawi. You dodge the E, you take a trade, and you walk away.
Yeah, they're going to combo here into the enemy blue buff here. Exalted is at least going to get some pressure, and Alawi should be a little careful about TPing back here. There is the potential of a dive. Of course, it's scary to dive Alawi. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Alawi. How are you ever diving this champion, truly?
That is true, but you know, crazier things have happened before. They are going to go for back. Actually going to cancel. See, they are looking kind of towards the top side, but a nice, well-placed ward here is going to deny it here from CB Batman.
Alawi will see the gank happening. Phoenix is going to walk in, I think, just applying pressure as Terry comes in, but I don't think you want this trade. Just trying to get the wave under turret as Phoenix is now going to start pushing it away, and getting the wave to hit the turret after Alawi has already used that TP is probably a win here for XG, and that's all they're looking for, but they've got the CC and the stuns, and CB Batman does not have the faith and gets shut down at the top side.
You know, you just said you can't dive Alawi, but you know, if your W gets canceled as Alawi and you lose the grass proc plus a little bit of healing on top, that definitely is a possible thing to happen. So a bit of a misplay there for CB Batman is gonna mean that Exalted gets a free one.
Yeah, that's my shoe in my mouth, as that was a really nicely played CC combo there from Phoenix Flare, but now potential dive in the bottom line. Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes wide. Pock sidestepping a lot of that damage, and Zaffa now level 6 means I think that there's no real dive, and Zaffa wants to trade it back. Mystic getting very low. Rigor Mortis still in the wings, waiting with that Cyclone, but without Flash, no real entrance into this lane. And Pock and Zaffa have done a good job of, you know, not falling as far behind as I think you would expect into the power lane that is the Seraphine and the Ashe, as CB's finally going to get that Test of Spirit and the Leap of Faith also. Terry's going to eat a lot of damage here. Another Grass Proc on the way out, and that is a Jax that should be forced to recall fairly soon.
Yeah. See, Batman just taking awareness there. Needs to get control of this lane to be able to avoid ganks. You need to get the I don't even know what to call it, like a triple tentacle setup in that little corner of the lane there.
No Test of Spirit, so Terry can walk back up, but the low health bar means that you can't take more than just a stun on the trade, and now it's just a dodging game, and it's just sidestep it again, so Terry should be able to pick up the rest of that farm under tower pretty nicely, and even out the CS differential topside. So again, maintaining that evenness in top lane. I think it's really just the disparity in bottom lane here, that CS difference going in Mystic's favor, that is really keeping IDI in parity in gold in this game. And even saying in parity, they're still down a couple hundred.
Yeah, you do see Phoenix Flare at least leaning towards the bot side. Looks like they want to engage on the Ashe. They're actually going for it. Barrier going to get procced over here.
Zafa, I think, might just be dead, but Pac has the healing. Will keep the AD carry alive. She's just too damn good on the Soraka, and Phoenix Flare is going to pick up the kill credit there. XG with a great punish on the bottom lane.
Yeah, Zafa, big bait there. Didn't actually burn a single summoner there. Ashe still holding the Enchanted Crystal Arrow that whole time.
Oh, Rigor Mortis flashing into mid lane here. They want Earl King. Unleash Power is going to get popped, but no execute at this early in the game. So Earl King with a flash and a dash over the wall is going to be able to walk out towards his jungler and make it out just fine.
Yeah, Wukong wanted to get advantage after that stun landed, but that means you don't really have too much chase potential. Earl King's just able to walk it off, and now a lot of the threat of the Syndra actually is diminished. Could still find a kill here. Gonna go for a re-look here by Rigor Mortis.
Earl King has this ulti steal ability. Enchanted Arrow doesn't find its mark in the mid lane. A little bit close there. Earl King just wants to pick up this extra CS, but it's so risky with Syndra. Even without her ulti, the burst damage that this champion can put out is so scary. As IDI, with control of the top side now, are just going to even out that grub count and make sure that the Jax Sylas team does not get 6 grubs, which I think is a great call.
Yeah, especially with the control the Alawi gave you just a little bit ago. Jax does have TP, so was a little bit greedy and actually just walking back to lane every single time. So actually has TP or to actually catch waves, but didn't want to catch it early, which kind of gives up a bit of control, especially since Phoenix Flare was already bought. So over the extended play, they're going to end up 3-3. Drake is coming back up. Sylas pinging towards that side. And Phoenix Flare is going to have to commit back towards that bot side just by having no camps on that.
I do want to say that Terry is doing a great job of playing this matchup in top lane. It's kind of like Ice Climbers and Melee, where, you know, the advice is just don't get grabbed. You just don't get your soul grabbed, and you win the matchup. Currently, It's a little bit more even than that, but Jax, I think, will be able to outskill Alawi in a side lane in that mid and late game. So Jax being even in a lane like this feels pretty good for him.
Yeah, I'd say this is pretty good. Definitely knows that if you ever get your soul grabbed, it is pretty much over. That is just generally how Alawi goes, and that is why it's always hard to play Alawi in these kind of higher level kind of games, because these players are very skilled.
Leap of Faith used top lane, and Terry's just going to start to walk away. He eats a chunk of HP on the afterburn, but has a potion in inventory. CB, though, is just focused on these plates. Doesn't get the Demolish proc, but now has the Test of Faith again, but doesn't have the Leap of Faith. Terry's going to jump in. One more proc, but the Grasp and the Slam of the Idol. CB Batman finds the solo.
Yeah, the Alawi buffs from so long ago, giving the extra range, kind of just made it look deceptively that there were no tentacles nearby. Rigor Mortis.
Knocked up, stunned up, locked up, gets the Cyclone off, but not much else. Earl King finds that a great little ambush from the XG mid-jungle duo.
Yeah, nice trap play there. Should have known something was up, but still getting caught out nonetheless. Blazing Cake now, taking a terrible trade.
A lot of trouble. Unleash Power doesn't find the kill. A flash away from the Syndra means she will survive, but you cannot be walking up to this Sylas this early.
Yeah, just not respecting. You really need the stacks in a tough matchup like this one, especially after how some of the earlier laning goes. Sylas at an early proto belt definitely makes it hurt. Terry now kind of in a worse position. Black Cleaver completed here for Alawi is going to make this a lot more difficult. Probably should just wait on the Trinity Spike before committing to any more shenanigans in the top side.
Yeah, Jax getting that passive armor and magic resist whenever he casts that ulti means just that little bit extra efficacy out of the Black Cleaver. And the item is already in a pretty good spot, which just means that Alawi, a champion who likes to use it, is just feeling even better, as the rest of the map has been pretty slow overall. It's been a lot of trading in the top and in the mid, but bottom lane, they're just chilling. We've got Triforce on the way for Corki. We've got Jax trying to get to his items, and Ashe already on Kraken Slayer means that I think the actually bottom lane, until they hit that big first item spike for Corki, he doesn't really want to make anything else happen.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Rift Herald is going to get grabbed up here for Rigor Mortis. They're going to use the control from the Alawi, so logically you do just get control of this objective. The dragon was grabbed up by IDI in the meantime, so they're going to even up the count 1-1. Or I guess, no, actually, sorry, Exalted grabbed that up. My mistake. So it's going to be 1-1. And going to have Soul be that Is this what, Ocean? Oh, no, this is Infernal Soul? Oh, no, this is Ocean. There's more plants.
This is Soul, my friend.
Hemtech? Oh,
Yeah,
shoot.
we got the extra plants and the buff plants.
Oh, yeah, okay, you're right.
So,
Yep.
a little bit of extra shielding on your honey fruits and those blast cones that send you absolutely to the moon. I don't know how much effect it's going to have overall, but the Soul itself could be very useful with the sustain champions that both these sides have. Seraphine and Soraka especially really love that extra heal and shield power and the extra damage resistance that comes through when those champs get to low HP.
Yeah. I think rotations also get a lot faster with these enhanced blast plants, so that could be something that could be pretty scary for a 1-3-1 team that, you know, like Exalted has drafted.
So engage in the bottom lane. Zaffa's just flying in, wants to make the trade happen, but Mystic is here, looking for some damage. A nice cleanse away for Zaffa will stay alive. Then the healing. Hawk will not let the AD carry die. Teleports in though. They want to make the death happen. Can they finally shut down Zaffa? Hawk keeping him alive. Zaffa will not die. Soraka is the new queen of the bottom lane. As Exalted Gaming clean house in the team fight.
Able to at least trade over one there for CE Batman, but this is the power of Soraka. I think any extended trade, and it becomes so hard to lock down these carries. Syndra just didn't want to commit the unleashed power there.
Mortis trying to get something happening in this bottom lane, playing 1v4 on the dive, but Phoenix Flare can just tank up the turret forever. One more Soraka heals up and takes the shot as well. Terry takes it. Beautiful dive executed by XG, and they're going to net themselves an extra tower off the back of it as well.
Yeah, so well played here. Mystic also looking to cancel some backs here. Could be a little bit scary, but no long range engage is available, so going to be able to just back out of there. And they're just going to look to push the wave. They want to crash this turret as quickly as possible to maybe get some tempo back on the map, but the Drake is respawning, and that is a lot of gold to Exalted. I'd be very scared to actually go for this objective here. I think this is most wise to just give it up since you are so down now, about 2k gold at this point.
Yeah, and now Corky is finally online. He's finished that Triforce. He's halfway to Mana Immune, and we saw the power of Soraka with just one item there. I mean, I called it out in the cast. We're seeing it in chat. Pac is the MVP of this game. I don't care what happens for the rest of this game, who makes what insane play. XG is not in the spot that they're in for the rest of this game if Pac is not playing that Soraka as well as she did.
I will say one thing at least, like, you know, you're 8 kills up, but the gold lead is only, you know, 1,500 gold. So I say IDI has been pretty well, actually, to just stay in this game. And Seraphine is no slouch come late game, so I'd still be scared here. This fight is definitely not something I'd advise, though. Rigor Mortis is going to start up this Drake.
Ulti's up for XG, but key, that Cyclone not available for Rigor Mortis as Wild Terry is just going to find the 1v1 top side. So now, IDI playing without that extra bit of backup in their pocket, having to fight 4v4 on this Dragon. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow doesn't find anything for Mystic, hasn't used it just yet. Glacial Person found him, but now is going to use it. Massive Cyclones here. Rigor Mortis finds the MVP, shuts her down, and now IDI can strike back hard.
Great CC usage there from IDI is going to net them the team fight. They're going to lose the turret on the side lane, most likely here, but that is a huge victory for the confidence of IDI as they grab up the second Drake and even up the gold lead. So now it really does come down to how are these fights going to play out, and I could see this game going 40 minutes now.
That fight started so well for IDI. They had the kit, they had the pick onto Mystic. They threw all the CC at this Ashe, but was able to survive without even using barrier. Mind you, just flashes away after the CC ends, and suddenly XG are looking at the rest of their cooldowns and saying, hey, do we have any follow-up? Do we have any more damage that we can throw? As Seraphine just sustains the entire team. Ashe is throwing out permanent bullets, and again, Rigor Mortis with a beautiful Cyclone, catching everybody on both procs, just setting the team up for success there. And I think importantly, shutting down Pac on the back line, making sure that this Soraka could not keep that team infinitely sustained.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta give it to Rescued actually hitting that ultimate there. I mean, that really set up the whole play. Then you had Cyclone on top and also the Scatter of the Weak on top. So it was just great CC layering. They find the damage, and I'm a little bit curious what happened to Silas not being able to even ulti at all. I don't think you could have grabbed the Seraphine ult, but all the other options were still on the table, and that could have really been a game changer in a fight like that. So a little bit rough if you are XG.
Rough indeed, but still ahead in kills, and the gold practically dead even. Now exactly dead even, as the turrets are one in favor of IDI, one dragon in favor of IDI, but those farm leads just working slightly in favor, I feel, of XG. I say farm leads, but actually no, they're pretty much all behind in their isolated lanes, except for top lane, which is exactly identical. As now we have an engage in the mid lane. They found Rescued, and they're going to find Mystic too. Rigor Mortis is going to come in to try and help out, but the team is already dead. Teleport into the backline here for CB Batman, maybe looking for a pinch, but do you have an angle to try and set up a test of Spirit and a leap of faith? CB Batman still on that front line, still walking forward, gets silenced by Pac, taking any extra sustain down, is going to get shut down before those tentacles can slam any harder, and now Earl King with the Soul and Cyclone trying to get worked onto the backline, but can't find any extra value. Ends up just falling on the backline. It ends up being 2 for 1 in favor of XG so far. 3 for 1 with Rescue dying as well. Terry has to get the flash out of Rigor Mortis and is going to be able to walk away himself. A chaotic scuffle in the mid lane, but XG barely coming out ahead.
Yeah, but I'd say the Alawi did so much work there, and Chanticleer Slayer not going to find anything. Just flying through the middle of the map.
No.
Nice cancel by Zaffa. They actually end up canceling.
Wow.
There isn't much to grab on the map, though.
Damn.
Yeah. They do get to walk it out here. They have some sort of tempo here to maybe take down this turret, especially with Seraphine in the area. This goes down extremely quickly.
3 grubs on an Ashe on a Seraphine. That turret is just going to fall. Phoenix Slayer is going to spot out Rigor Mortis here, but Wukong is Wukong, so he will be tricky and get over that wall. And again, our map kind of comes back to this lull state. Neither of these teams has had more than a 2,500 gold lead in their favor at any point this game, and we called it out in the draft that this game was going to be close, that these drafts were both very excellently executed. And now it's just a matter of seeing who can truly execute it on in terms of the hands in these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I'll say one thing to note: only the Syndra has any anti-heal, which is a little concerning. But at this stage, it's not the worst. I would like to see it at least on one other member, maybe the Seraphine, since it's not too hard to proc that AoE. Something like that, at least, so you do reduce the effectiveness of the Soraka healing, especially considering... Oh, hold that thought.
They're looking for Rescued here. They're going to burn that Glacial Prison. The Encore comes in, but there's no team follow-up. Terry will find that now on a rampage on this Jax. We called him out being a potential threat in the side lane, but Terry's helping out with the team fights.
Yeah, Terry is definitely in the pocket there. Actually going to be able to push up and catch this bot wave here. Syndra is on the top side, so they're going to go for just giving up this Drake as it spawns, which, you know, they didn't give it up last time. It worked out for them, but this time they're going to wisely decide, okay, the one pick onto our Seraphine is too much, which I'd agree with, since you really do need the Encore to keep the Ashe safe.
Yeah, I think maybe if Rescue doesn't use ulti there and just dies, there's a potential for a contest here, as the dragon is still about 10 seconds away from spawning, and Rescue would be there in time, but without that big cooldown, it's still only half off. You don't really have as much of an engage opportunity.
Yeah, looks like they're still going for it. Syndra does have TP, gonna TP towards that mid side, so they're gonna split the map here. They want to catch mid immediately.
I think XG's just giving it.
No, I think they're going to fight. It's going to be a little bit scary, though. Alawi's going to be able to set up a couple tentacles to start off the fight.
Yeah, they've given IDI control of the pit, and now we're going to have to fight their way back into it. Ward inside the pit now. They see the dragon down to 6k. Phoenix are looking for a way in. They've got the silence down to the CB Batman. They are rooting the Alawi up. It has the Sterax and cannot be denied. The leap of faith. It's off on the wrong side of the team fight, pathing over the wall, has to get the flash out as Earl King is in the backline, gets an Encore, flashed away from by the carries of IDI. Earl King now alone in the backline, has that Zonies, he's going to be able to pop it. Terry flashes into the backline, gets a nice 4-man stun, but is there any follow-up? Is there any damage? Blazing Cake says no! A massive scatter of the week is going to shut down the front line of XG. Phoenix player on the run. Terry, though, finds Mystic with a nice leap strike on the backline. Puck surviving on the backline. Rigor Mortis can't find the last hit, can't find that little bit of damage. Soraka's just that 2 OP, and Terry on the backline survives and shuts everyone down. Phoenix player finds Rescue, and now Rigor Mortis is stuck all alone. 1v4. There's nothing that the monkey can do. Phoenix finds a stun. Terry jumps in. It's an ace for XG.
Oh, you can't have an extended fight last that long against Soraka. The utility of that pick is really showing its head here, as XG is going to make it count here. They're going to grab their second Drake of the game and extend that gold lead up to 2.5k gold up. So that was a really well played fight, and yeah, you just have to catch Soraka, and it was actually a pretty well-positioned fight overall. Earl King on the flank, forcing out so many sums, and since they couldn't burst through the Soraka early enough in the fight, they could just re-engage as soon as they wanted to. They find the Glacial Prison on the Ashe after forcing the flash out from the Silas, and yeah, that was just well played overall.
Yeah, I got really worried when I saw Zafa just padding towards the team through the entirety of IDI, but the flash over the wall gets him to safety, and like you said, as long as Soraka is alive, the team is alive, and Rescued, I think, doing their best to provide the utility, but just isn't able to do enough healing and shielding, not the same kind of consistency that Soraka can have. And talking about consistency, we can't not mention a Wild Terry onto this Jax, having a field day with the IDI backline, leaping in there, constantly causing problems for these squishies.
Yeah, that Counter-Strike definitely was a game changer there, and 8-1-4 currently, only rivaled by really Sejuani at 5-1-12. Not exactly the scoreline I would have anticipated considering these drafts, but that is how this game has gone here. Rigor Mortis really hasn't found too much value on the Wukong. Of course, you do have the potential and a lot of threat on the backline, but the damage just hasn't really been there onto Pac at the very least. Wild Terry getting forced back a bit. Rigor Mortis wants to combo here. There is the Blast Plant to cover a lot of distance.
My question is, do they even win this? This is a 2.5 item Jax, and yeah, Alawi also has 2.5 items, but Jax has that stopwatch in inventory. Not the stopwatch, the arm guard, but I think even if he doesn't ding 16, I don't know if they want to fight this guy.
Yeah, they're positioning pretty safely. They don't want to overcommit before Alawi can hit that Soul Unbound. Or not Soul Unbound, that's a Yone ability or something like that.
Test of Spirit.
That's the one, yep. That's not my job.
Alawi has some really cool ability names. Test of Spirit and Leap of Faith fit right in with her kit.
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of her W is. I just call it the bonk with the idol, because she bonks you over the head with the idol.
I'd say bonk. Yeah, that works. Shout out to the TF2 community. No. You know, we going OG. I heard melee earlier.
We got a little bit of a lull here as Rigor Mortis still here on the bottom side. They're looking for the engage. Terry's going to pop that Grandmaster Strike, gets the stopwatch off, and gets away from the second Cyclone. Staying alive just barely, gets the Sundered Skyproc as well. The Soraka ulti from downtown, but it's not enough. It will be shut down over to Rigor Mortis, but now the jungler showing on the bottom side of the map means that there's no vision. XG are just going to turn to the Baron and say, hey, thank you very much. This does go down pretty quickly, but now the rest of IDI in the area looking for a contest. TP in from CB. Doesn't have the ulti, but it's a massive encore. It only finds 2. They're going to be able to find Blazing Case, but is that enough? Test of Spirit from CB Batman is going to get a lot of health out of Phoenix Flare. Does have the Warmog, so we'll be able to sustain up after some time, but it's going to take some time. Hawk is also very low. We see the Corki recalling, and XG, I think it might have just leashed the Baron, but they're still here. They're still looking for a contest. That Warmog's taking up on Sejuani. The slower this Baron goes down, the better it is. Phoenix Flare now back to full HP. He's going to get into the pit. The Soul and Ash ulti. It finds Mystic, and they're going to be able to shut the AD carry down. Pac on the backline is going to get picked up by Rigor Mortis, but Zappa's still alive, still free firing on the Corki. Rigor Mortis trying to get the pressure down, but Phoenix Flare is there for the peel. In the meantime, Terry and Earl King again having a field day on the backline. CB Batman doing their best to keep the team peeled, but just can't do enough on the Alawi. Terry finds another, gets revenge for the side lane, and the massive blast cone means that Rescued might just fall as well. It's a double kill of Terry, and XG come out on top again.
Yeah, what a well-played fight. They used the Warmogs that was purchased with the extra gold for the Sejuani, and it really made it so hard that they committed so much in the early fight, couldn't find the kill, and Sejuani just rolls back in, is able to make it very hard, and I'd say, you know, Mystic just a little bit too far forward, gets caught out. Really was kind of the death nail there for them. And the game goes on, but man, it's looking scary now for IDI.
Yeah, what's crazy is with XG finally getting themselves that Baron, their gold lead is going to jump up to 4,000 now, which for 30 minutes in the game is not a high number. These teams have been neck and neck with each other throughout the entirety of this game number 1, and it's also important to mention this is only game number 1. We still have potentially two more to go.
Yeah, and it's good to outline the stakes again. These is very close to playoffs. Only 3 weeks left, including this one. So, and they're both pretty much sitting in the middle of the table. And if they want to hit top 4 in their group, they're really gonna have to make sure that they grab these wins while they can. These close games are the difference makers a lot of the time. So we'll have to see who takes it.
Something we haven't gotten to mention about these dragons, I think especially, is the tenacity that they provide. Being so good for both of these teams. You're looking at Sejuani, Jax, Silas, and you're all looking at the other side at Syndra, Ashe, Seraphine. Both of these teams love to have that extra bit of tenacity, but XG now with 2 in their back pocket, that 12% now going their way. It's going to be so hard to keep these aided carries, or keep these backline carries especially, locked down. Like, how do you actually stop Zappa when he doesn't have cleanse? He can just walk forward.
Yeah, and they're just gonna be able to walk forward, take down this turret, and they're gonna look for the inhib. Phoenix Flare is just so uncontestable. This Sejuani has way more gold than she should, to be clear.
It's surprising to me that, I know the item did get nerfed on this patch, but Mystic not going for a Blade of the Ruin King versus the Silas, the Jax, and the Sejuani, and especially versus the Soraka, that is going to keep them kept up, it's shocking to me that Mystic is opting for this crit build on Ashe. I know it is effective and I know it does a lot of damage, but not having this percentage piece shred, and importantly not having armor shred either, is really going to lower Ashe's effective damage on this frontliners.
Yeah. This is such a tough spot. I really anticipated that the Seraphine Ashe would be stronger in this game, but it just hasn't looked as powerful as possible. Wild Terry's gonna get stunned up.
Yeah, but again, that tenacity, you just can't keep the guy locked down. He's got the leap strike away, and he'll be fine to just walk back. And even if you do get that chip damage on him, Pac is here in the backline, just keeping her team fully sustained. The ones who don't have Warmogs have a Warmogs in their back pocket, waiting to give them some extra HP.
Yeah, this is looking very scary here. Now, gold lead has blossomed. It's got about 5,000 in the pockets of XG, and now they have all the control they want to start denying camps, denying farm, and really making it very hard for IDI to ever walk out on the map. Next objective will be that next Drake. It's going to be soul point here for XG. They need to establish some sort of vision line. It's kind of scary when you're walking into a Sejuani Jax. I'll confess. And XG has really done a good job of creating a line if you look at their wards. And
I just want to point out the gold between the 280 carries. Zappa is 7-2 and 8, but is down 50 CS. This is how important CSing is to your gold income, everybody. Look at the gold difference. You would think that Zappa would be so far ahead, even sitting on a massive bounty, but Mystic is able to keep up just by collecting good amounts of farm and positioning well to, again, just keep absorbing that farm and just staying in parity and itemization. So it's so difficult to actually shut this Ashe down. Even if she was farther behind in gold, she still has the utility. Oh, what a chain from Earl King. Flash out of Blazing Cake. He's going to be forced as nice use of the Proto Belt to get rid of that spell shield. Banshees be gone.
Yeah, I like Banshees generally, so good on Earl King, but you saw that Proto Belt a lot earlier in the game. I know it's just to ward off any potential Sejuani engage, but generally Sejuani doesn't really aim for the Syndra very often because you really are just looking for the Ashe. Just able to dodge away from that. Definitely wouldn't have been a kill considering Sejuani was in the area. Or not Sejuani, Seraphine. Too many names. No, I'm getting tripped up.
Soraka, Seraphine, Sejuani.
Yeah,
Tilawi.
I'm getting got. No lie.
Yeah, Dragon set up here for XG. They're just going to start clearing out wards. And again, you were talking about it earlier, the vision that this team is able to get because they have this control over these side lanes. They're able to just walk into the enemy jungle at any time they want and just pick out the spots that they want their vision. And for IDI, walking into your own jungle is like walking through a minefield.
Yeah, generally you'd think, oh, I have the Syndra. It's scary to walk into enemy jungle. But right now, Syndra's not strong enough since all these champions are so tanky. That's another thing that makes Corki so OP is he just generally has a higher HP pool than a lot of the AD carries that are generally available, so it makes it very hard.
CB getting engaged on, but this is allowing into 2v1. She's going to get a little bit of anti-heal tagged on her as Terry's going to keep getting that damage down. The Test of Spirit is going to force out Earl King, though. A quarter HP. You have to respect the work that Alawi can do. And now, Pac is down. A caught out in the mid lane. IDI have taken advantage, and they're going to start shoving down mid lane. XG have been out-positioned, out-macroed, and IDI could just end the game.
Yeah, they're looking to just go for the end. The backs from the Silas and the Jax are coming through. They have a flank here, and Graceful Prison is online. They're going to TP together with the Jax.
Phoenix Flare gets stunned up, but it's not the target you want. It's stun onto CB Batman, but it's just onto CB. Gonna get cleansed away by the Mikhails. They have found Mystic. The AD carries down. How much work can Rigor Mortis do? Zappa doesn't have Pac nearby. The Redemption not able to heal. Rigor Mortis shuts down Zappa. It's a messy team fight, and now Terry can start to take advantage. Phoenix Flare flashes over the wall. Terry finds a double kill. We get shut down. CB Batman finds revenge for the laning phase. XG scattered to the wind in a messy team fight. IDI staying alive. Find another stun on the Phoenix Flare is going to force the dash out. Pac is back out, so they can't push any farther forward. But a massive turnaround. IDI find the first inhibitor, and they are still in this game.
Yeah, what a huge play there. Finds the back line onto Pac and also cut mid lane. So they have a nice inside track that XG just has to respond to. You cannot let them have any of your Nexus turrets. So they're going to go now turn onto the Drake. Blazing Cake now doing what Syndra does best. But there is Phoenix Flare there in the area.
This is scary. They don't have Zoffa nearby. Still 3 seconds out on the respawn and no teleport. Earl King here getting some extra damage down, but Batman has that ulti back up, so it's just going to force the members of XG back and away from the pit. The Dragon does get leashed, though, so it is going to be slowed down. Stun lands onto Earl King, but again, that tenacity from the Dragons keeping the Silas safe. Enchanted Crystal Arrow finds Pac. Can they get any of an advantage off it? Blazing King is going to get the ulti. They're throwing everything onto the Soraka. She is shut down again. XG now have to manage this Dragonflight 4v5 if they even try to contest it in the first place.
Yeah, huge Enchanted Crystal Arrow finds the Soraka in the backline. That is not who you want to be tanking those. And now the Syndra's looking pretty strong. Finds another Scout of the Week.
Phoenix Flare wants to find the engage. They're on a Blazing Kick. They got the Syndra. They've shot her down, but it's Rigor Mortis again on the backline. Zappa doesn't have that support behind them. Earl King doing their best to peel is going to keep Zappa alive. XG and a Miracle have found their team fight. Terry's going to get shut down, though, so no Jax in this fight, and CB Batman still up and still healthy. Staying alive on this front line is going to get stunned up. Phoenix Flare doing a great job front lining. The Test of Spirit, the Leap of Faith on the backline. Earl King, though, on the other side, finds rescued. Zappa's on 1 HP. Phoenix is on 1 HP, and Pac respawns. The Wish keeping XG's hopes and dreams alive. CB Batman now in a 1v3 situation, soon to be 1v4 as Pac is on the way. Earl King finds the Leap of Faith, but I don't think this ult is going to do very much for you, my friend. It's going to pop it down. It's going to get shut down. But now Phoenix Flare is here for the support. It's going to get a stun down onto CB Batman. Pac, though, onto the rotate. Can they find the damage? Zappa's here. One more shot. Shut down. XG find the fight win.
They find the fight win. They're going to grab up the Baron, but this is not the end of the game, I don't think. It'll have to be quite the misplay since they can't really convert this into a victory. Actually, they're just backing. The Corki doesn't have enough HP. They're not confident enough to actually take it, especially with Blazing Cake TPing back in. So actually, I think it's just winning play here for IDI where they find the Drake and stall out the game even more. And now is the point where the Syndra and this Ashe Seraphine is going to get pretty scary. Okay, I don't like the purchase of the ward item here for the Seraphine, but it's a little too early, not gonna lie.
I think it's okay unless you are gonna go for the Ryalize. I do think you need that ward coverage on your team for somebody. The item choice for supports that surprises me, Hawk 808 not opting for the Mikhails versus Ashe, Syndra, and Seraphine feels like a mistake to me as a support player myself. I love playing against Ashe and heavy CC comps because every time I can just be like, oh, this is the easiest first item Mikhails of my life. I just grab that item and they have no way to engage on my carries. But Pac, since Zoffa has cleanse, has opted for a much more team healing and utility-based build, has the Moonstone, has the Dawn Core, and the Redemption, which have been very good this game. But the lack of Mikhails, the lack of that CC cleanse, only Zoffa having it, means that IDI have their pick of the litter for who they want to find a pick on.
Yeah, and the game's going to slow down a little bit. No one's really looking to overextend. The Baron is up, and that could be game-ending if you lose it. So they're really making sure that they cross their, Sorry, dot their I's, cross their T's. You
Oh,
know
there
how
is
it
cross
goes.
the T's. There you go. There you go.
And you know, you got to make sure you do all your due diligence here. Terry looking for an engage. Corky is in the area. This could be a little scary if you are CV Batman.
Yeah, Batman doesn't have that test of spirit anymore, so Terry jumps forward, but doesn't want any more than that. Level 18s are starting to get hit across the board. It really is just the bottom lanes that need to catch up. And Rigor Mortis over there in the jungle, doing their jungle due diligence and making sure the team gets that XP. But XG now potentially looking to set up a Death Brush. Doesn't get spotted out by the Asher. They only see Earl King, but the rest of the members need to rotate over as that turret goes down. And this game is so tight, Golden. I really don't know who's going to be coming out ahead on this.
I'd be a little bit scared here if you are XG. The waves are pushed in favor of IDI currently, which means if you lose a fight here, it could be the end of the game. Rigor Mortis gonna get forced away, and they're cutting the vision line here. There is still that control ward in the pit. They don't have to worry too much about it. I love if one of IDI just kills it just to force some sort of pressure, but it looks like they're going for a fight in the top side.
Yeah, clone there for Rigor Mortis is going to get caught, but that one soul pull means that Terry has to cede control of this bottom side turret. And I said that Jax would outscale allowing the side lane, but CB is hitting these tests of spirit so well, and it's forcing Terry to play so defensively on this Jax. Even at 4.5 items, even having that anti-heal versus the Alawi, she is still such a menace in these 1v1s.
Yeah, I think a big purchase that is missing for the Jax is actually something like a Death Dance to actually stay in these lanes a little longer. Gonna go for the fight with the Sylas.
Yeah, the ulti was used just onto 2 targets, so Earl King can't get in here. It's a Zonius from Wild Terry to avoid a lot of the damage, and now CB can finally get shut down. Wish used to keep the side lane alive, though, and now 4v3 in the mid lane as the rest of the members of IDI are going to start to rotate in. Phoenix Flare, it's a stun onto Zoffa. The cleanse away is beautiful, though. The Encore won't be able to extend its range off of anybody, but Rigor Mortis has the shielding, the healing will finally shut down Zoffa and get the aiding carry. Dies immediately, as now Terry's going to teleport onto the backline. Nice flash away. Mystic will stay alive, and they have found Terry. Blazing Gate finds him and immediately dies in exchange. Mystic, though, free firing on his arrows. Look at that ruler, but Earl King is Faker shuts them down with a double kill, and now Rescued is the only man left standing. Sun comes in, Silence comes in, XG find another fight win, and they're gonna take Soul.
They're gonna take Soul. The game persists, however. So this close back and forth is going to continue. And yeah, every fight can basically end the game if enough people stay alive. So this is a stressful one for you, I'd say. You got a lot more casting in your future, I'd say.
Yeah, the game is not over just yet, and important to mention, this is just game number 1. We have got potentially 2 more games of this left to go. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to survive the night, as this has been an exciting game number 1.
Yeah, we're sitting at you know, like, well, that's like 1.5 kills per minute, just about. So yeah, that's a lot of work for you. I'm sitting back, I'm chilling, no big deal, you know. Like, this is the color life. I get it. They're gonna go
chaotic games like this.
TP on to the Baron here. They're gonna go for quite the play. I think this is actually going to work. They really don't have the vision. They only had the vision in that one pit. They are going to go and look towards this area, but there's no TP on either of the real main carries here for XG. So I'm pretty concerned about this unless there's a steal.
Yeah, Phoenix is going to get stunned over the wall, but it's a little bit late. Can they get vision in the pit? Phoenix Flare's in, but this fight comes through. Rigor Mortis is going to grab that. Now Phoenix Flare with no flash, with no dash, is going to get shut down. Mystic will find that extra sack of gold. But at this point in the game, let's be honest, gold does not matter. Everybody's getting to their last items as we're 43 minutes in. Terry looking at a potential flank angle, but now XG has to defend 5v4. 50 seconds left on Phoenix to respawn.
Yeah, I'd really like to see Terry just cut the wave here. Just don't care about the fight at all. Just walk towards the wave, but they want the fight.
Terry sidesteps the stun, gets in. Nice, a nice 2-man stun. They found Mystic. They shut him down again. Zoffa finds the kill. Earl King immediately goes down, though. Pocket's going to get her soul pulled away. And now Terry stuck 1v4 on the backline, and I don't think Jax is that overpowered. CB will find that shutdown. And now Zoffa and Pock, the bottom lane from XG, have to find a miracle defense here as IDI are forcing it down the base. 4 members left alive. Can IDI find the finish here? First Nexus turret is the target. Second one is down. Zoffa, what do you have left in your pocket? I don't think it's that much. He's going to be able to find one on the rescue. The wish comes through, but it's a wish of a hope and a dream as IDI come back and take the win for game number 1.
What an exciting game there for IDI, but they clutch it up. Overall, man, that was just so close, and I feel like a couple different macro decisions here from XG really could have net them the game, but you're seeing like the individual performance from the IDI players kept them in as far as gold is concerned. They were catching waves better. They were making sure to get their push before they roam. They weren't leaving anything unattended to, and that kept them in the game. You know, I talked about before the game started, bounties are changed. It's not so easy to come back in these games. You need to stay in pace with the opposing team the entire time, and you saw how that worked out. The Lowy went back and forth with the Jax in the side lane. Wukong found some nice engages, and then eventually Syndra just scaled up, hit that 120 stacks, and just was able to start one-shotting people, and a couple crucial picks on a Puck in particular really net them the game there.
A couple of crucial mistakes and a couple of crucial punishes for IDI coming through there in game number 1. Now, to keep our sanity, we're going to cut to a short break, and we'll jump right back in for the draft for game number 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
side, my side, my side. Without you by my side. One time from side to side. Peekaboo, I see you, peekaboo, I see you. Looking at me, looking at you. Hold up, where you going? What you doing? Who you seeing? What you need? What you want? I said, without you by my side, my side, my side. Without you by my side. One time from side to side. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. Without you by my side, I can't go outside. One time from side to side. Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight.
Thank you all so much for your patience as we're jumping back in for game number 2 between Iridescent Dawn Ignite and XG. And I think if you were watching probably the first 35 minutes of that game, this result on the bottom of your screen would be very surprising to you.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a banger. Went back and forth both sides. Everyone kind of playing up and down throughout the entire game. No one had a fully clean game start to finish. There were mistakes made on both sides, but IDI with a couple kind of sneaky moves actually ends up taking it over XG in the first game. And I'm excited to see what the look will be in game 2 as we head into draft here, as they are now going to be probably, I'd imagine, picking pretty similar things. I don't think either team's going to be too unhappy with what went wrong or well in that last game. So Skarner going to get taken off the table. I expect the same couple bans from the side of XG. They're going to stick to the same sides as well. Viego, Nocturne, if I had to guess, for the first 2, and IDI going to keep those kind of tank bans kind of on the rise. Talia as well, specialty pick.
Yeah, I do wonder if we're going to see maybe a Soraka or a Seraphine ban thrown for either side, because I'm going to be honest, those champions were the problem for both of these teams in this game number 1. The amount of sustain and the amount of utility that they brought for their whole squad just made life so difficult for the carries of, honestly, both sides. But so far, bans remaining the same. IDI are going to take away that Aurora again, paying that blue side tax. If you're not going to pick it, you got to ban it. And bans remain the same, so I wonder if IDI is just going to run the dash back again. There's no way we get a salty run back for game number 2, surely.
I think we might, to be honest. I think there will be a couple of different bans in the second rotation. Actually, Corki's going to be the swap up. Yeah, they want the power of the Corki. They saw hey, I mean, if I was Mystic and I got chunked for 300 damage by this Corki, I would also want to take it. So gonna grab that up, and Jinx is gonna be a very interesting pivot there. Wants to match some of the damage in the late game, but you're losing a lot of utility of the Ashe and a bit of safety as well. You know, usually when I think of Jinx, I think of things like, I was gonna say Lulu. I also think of Tom Kench as well. So we're gonna see Lulu grabbed up, and that's a pick that Rescued really does like in solo queue. So seeing that grabbed up immediately, it's definitely something that they were preparing before this series began, and Nami is going to be the pairing pick. If you've ever seen Nami before, just loves any AD carry that has some ability damage alongside auto damage. So
he loves to dash forward. Any champion that can dash forward, Nami is in love with. We saw it with Lucian Nami a while ago when that was still OP. I think this is one of the first times I've seen Nami outside of that pairing, and I'm really excited for that, as I think the Enchanter matchups here in the bottom lane are so important across the board, as Phoenix Flare is going to get that Sejuani back, but importantly, IDI blind picking the Cassante here. Has the ability to jump into mid lane with Blazing Kick, but I think for now, Cassante is almost entirely a top laner, so we have some draft disparity this time around, and now it's just a question of where do the bans go? XG is going to focus down the jungle pool, and IDI are looking at mid lane instead of that top lane, so maybe Jax will make it through for Terry again.
Yeah, Cassante is a pretty scary champion and does pretty well into a lot of the meta picks currently available, so it's a pretty nice call out there. You are also extremely safe against Sejuani. There really is almost no threat that champion can provide. Yone gonna get banned away. You don't want either of these Sejuani combos of the Yone or the Sylas, so good call outs there from IDI, and they're also gonna take away on the side of XG, that Syndra. They didn't like how it interacted once 120 stacks were on board, and I was expecting Camille, and it's going to be that pick indeed. I'd be extremely careful when you play Camille. You know, if you get pushed behind this Cassante, it's going to be a rough 40 minutes or so until you can get back in this game, and Wukong is going to be the kind of counter pick yet again to the Sejuani. They liked how it found the backline, and they're going to need to find similar success again in this one. You know, it's going to be a little bit harder, but that's what the Akali is for. We're going full dive. We want to find that Lulu Jinx. Blind picking the Akali. They did ban the Sylas, so that 50-50 matchup of who outplays who is off the table, and it's going to be Galio.
Yeah, this is the pick that I was worried about. When you pick one of these assassins like Holly, we were watching Worlds. We saw what Faker did. And, I mean, I called it out in game number 1. Earl King is playing an impressive series here. Maybe not the same Demon King himself, but picking up the Galio into this Akali just like him and saying, hey, we've got a Jinx comp. I'm going to keep this Jinx alive, as we're going to hop directly into the game for this game number 2. We'll see if IDI can close it out or if XG are going to drag us to game number 3.
I mean, I've played a fair share of Akali, maybe one of my most played champions, and I really hate Galio. It's definitely not the most unplayable thing, but the early game just feels bad, and in these fights, if you're not finding a flank, it can be pretty rough. You have to commit the ulti early to at least get some space away from the Galio so you don't get taunted up, since it's one of those CCs that just ignores whether you're actually in Shroud or not. And it also gets you out of Shroud since you commit to an auto. Phoenix Flare getting surrounded. Rigor Mortis.
Has Terry here and has Earl King here. Rigor Mortis is going to lose that flash level 1. I don't know if he needed to, but he's going to opt to burn it early. Does not want to lose any more AHP on the trade, so we'll just be forced to walk away. A rough early flash to lose, but we'll be back up by the time that Rigor Mortis hits level 6, so it should be okay. Yeah,
I mean, that could have been pretty bad. I mean, if anything, I think Rigor Mortis should have held it just a little bit, because if Galio commits for E, it actually makes Akali's life a lot easier in the early game, since you don't have to anticipate, oh, I'm going to get pushed in by Galio, or I don't have to deal with poke at all, at least for the first level, where it can feel a little bit rough before you get a lot of the mobility that Akali does provide. So, dodge away from some of this poke, at least be able to farm up. Akali, if you've played a lot of Akali, you're used to kind of chilling for 6 levels, so we'll see what they end up doing here. Nice trade there on bot side.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw how well Mystic performed in game number 1, so taking him off of the Ashe and giving him this Corki, you've been talking about it all night, this hyper carry, massive pick on the patch. It just feels like the right path for IDI to go, and if they're going to play through this bottom lane, you know, leave Batman kind of on an island, let him play the top lane matchup against Terry, and, you know, if the Cassante gets behind, he's still Cassante, but if your Corki gets ahead, you can just play the game through him.
Yeah, K'Sante, kind of a different champion, but at the same time, much the same. Not as tricky as far as extending auto attacks. Earl King able to get a nice trade. This is going to go even, but of course, we'll eventually have the shield. Zafa finding a lot of damage onto Mystic here. The Lulu is providing a lot more damage than the Nami.
Ooh, heal barrier burned by Zafa, staying alive for now. Polymorph's in. Mystic still holding onto that barrier though, so still has that extra bit of HP in the back pocket. Doesn't sidestep the zap. The heal comes through though. There's the barrier. Zafa has the shielding from Lulu though. Pac putting in the work in the 1v1, and lethal tempo Jinx is so scary. All summoners burned, but that flash from Pac, and nobody dies on the bottom side.
Yeah, extremely close. They're actually going to stay here. Now the junglers are fighting. Rigor Mortis wants Zafa.
No flash though, can't get access to that back line, can't get onto Zafa. 3 stacks on the Sejuani E, though stun is going to be able to come through. The slow will come through. Phoenix Flare lands that. Even with the zap landing though, they can't find much else as Mystic with a couple autos. He's going to force the Sejuani back. And again, lots of blood, but no death so far.
Yeah, complete bloodbath there. I think it's pretty crucial that Zafa knows how Corki works. Gonna actually flash away from that Q damage that could have been disgusting on that phosphorus bomb. So pretty well played, and everyone's, you know, just back to even Stevens in the bot lane.
Yeah, the only real advantage again is Pac having that flash, and I'm gonna be honest, Lulu flash in the early game, that's not an offensive tool. You're not gonna find a lot of angles to like flash Glitter Lance for a slow or flash Polymorph to try and make a play happen. You're using that to get away from a Wukong who gets on top of you.
Yeah, so not too much kill threat, but you know, definitely if you make a mistake, could be the end of you. And Akali's gonna go for a reset. Actually, gonna cancel it. Gonna commit to the wave here. Probably wants to wait for that. Usually the Hexag alternator, I'd say generally at this stage. Unless you're going to go for boots, which is also possible. You do get to walk away from the Galio maybe in some scenarios where you can't otherwise. And you do get to get through a little bit more of that MR that he's going to be building for sure with the...
Yeah. Although, as Akali is really the only source of AP damage on this team, as Corki does a lot of physical and true damage, K'Sante and the Wukong true damage and physical damage to themselves. I mean, Nami's providing some magic damage, and, you know, granted, she's doing a chunk, but not enough that I would call her, like, a threat you want to build against. So if Earl King opts for the Hollow Radiance first item here, could be a little weak to some of these other damage threats that IDI have in their pocket. And if you don't build the magic resist, you're feeling a lot weaker in the laning phase. So a tough choice to make in the early game here for Earl King.
Yeah, I just expect it since it's still good option for wave clear.
Yeah,
if anything.
You press Q on the wave and the wave disappears.
Yeah, so I'd expect at least some sort of take there, and yeah, I don't know. I think this is gonna be a pretty close game. I will say K'Sante is looking pretty good in the lane so far. Doesn't have too much of a CS lead. Gonna get equalized by these 5 minions now. So I'd say this is pretty good for Camille. You don't really have to change too much.
Nice little W there from CB Batman. Is going to reduce some of the damage, but Camille true damage is in fact true damage. You don't really want to be tanking that very often as the K'Sante, and like you mentioned, this K'Sante is kind of a different beast than he has been in the past. In the late game, he's definitely still can be the same monster, but earlier in the game, I think he's a lot more vulnerable, as we're already seeing those huge sweeps from Terry, getting a lot of damage down along with those precision protocols.
I mean, now with level 6, though, Camille really has to be careful because the kill threat is just all in K'Sante's favor.
Bubble misses. Polymorph's going to get down on the rescued, and this should just be a dead Nami. No flash, no heal, no nothing. They're going to donate it over to Zafa. Beautifully done by Phoenix Flare, and now they're going to set up the kills again. A double over to Jinx, and XG find the lead in the bottom lane.
Yeah, just poorly played there from Mystic and Rescued. None of the skills really landing that need to land there if you want the kills. And definitely did not help that Phoenix Flare was in the area. Blazing Cake kind of in a good spot. Has the R here. Not going to be able to commit too far. Earl King taking a lot of damage at the very least. So maybe could find some threat in the future when Wukong Cyclone is up.
Speaking of Wukong, Rigor Mortis is here. I think probably he's just going to help push this wave in, or even start rotating towards the bottom side, as Phoenix Flare wanted to find an invade, but he's just going to be forced away. Rescued and Rigor Mortis rotating in, so the Sejuani not able to get that Raptor Camp steal and won't find as much of an advantage off that bottom side gank.
Yeah. You know, they at least find some gold here. They are now about 1.3k gold up. CB Batman kind of going for a big trade. If the Q hits, I wouldn't be surprised if it just goes for the ulti here. Try and commit a lot of the Camille HP down.
Yep, another precision protocol, another chunk off of CB. Although that Q3 is going to land, CB wants to find the all out, looking for a bit of extra damage here. Has that W, a nice sidestep, the dodge out with the Hextech ultimatum. Terry styles on him in the 1v1.
Yeah, just a little bit over-eager there from CB Batman. Gonna get taken out, but nice response play from Wild Terry. And now Blazing Cake getting chunked out. You're seeing how hard this Galio matchup really is. Phoenix Flare in the bot side committed the Glacial Prison already.
Mortis is here and has the Cyclone. Is going to flash in and just find that knockup. And now Mystic finds that kill. No level 6 available for Zafa, so no real extra kill threat available for the Jinx. And it's just one free kill for the Corki in the bottom lane, and that's the target you want that kill on.
Yeah, Earl King running low on mana. Maybe if overstays could actually go down, but just going to grab up this wave and probably go for a reset here. So overall, not too bad from the side of XG. And it's a pretty similar start to last game where XG, with the help of the Sejuani, finds a bit of an early lead. Top lane, once again, kind of tumultuous for both sides. We'll see how this kind of swings now that Kazante does have the Sheen in the inventory. But yeah, I'd say pretty close so far. I wouldn't give it a big advantage to either team here.
Yeah, I think the one thing that kind of surprises me with the rune choice here from Terry, I've seen it proc a couple of times now. Scorch on the Camille with the Grasp setup. I don't really know how I feel about it. I have a personal vendetta against Scorch as a rune, and you know, I think other secondary options would probably provide a little bit more value for this Camille. As
I missed.
If he can get some damage, yeah, CB has to be careful now that Camille has that Sheen in inventory as well.
Yeah, if you miss a Q now on Kazante, it feels so bad. Since that is pretty much all your damage, you can't commit your W as offensively, and CB Batman's gonna learn that right now.
Uses that W, gets the stun down onto Phoenix Flare. Nice knockback onto Terry, but not much else. A good gank from Phoenix Flare means another kill for Terry in this volatile top lane matchup. Yeah,
and if Camille gets to too far of an advantage, Kazante could pretty much get boxed out of the game for the rest of it, especially once Camille hits a bit of lifesteal. There really is nothing that the Kazante can do, and can't establish the push anymore either, especially if the Ravenous Hydra does come through from the Camille, so curious to see whether that will be the option. So far, just going for the Trinity Force, no surprise there, focusing purely on the 1v1. Doesn't want to shove in these waves too over eagerly.
1v1 and tower push, I think, especially. We saw a lot of side lane play last game. The Jax versus the Alawi was such a crucial matchup that allowed IDI to find their win, but Camille, I think, a little bit more threatening than either an Alawi or a Jax in the side lane. If she gets a free moment with a turret, that thing can just disappear.
Yeah, and another very early Zeke's here for the Sejuani, so a lot of extra damage that you necessarily wouldn't think would come through, and guess what? Phoenix is going for the grubs again. This will be 3-3 yet again in this game. They did start off with the drag instead, so it's going to be a little bit of a swap up, but now they're fighting for the mid wave here. Earl King wants to roam.
Yeah, they have to be careful, though, as that's just an insta-passive stack onto Phoenix Flare, and not even needing the Glacial Prison. That's just a dead monkey, and there's no real execute damage targets here for Blazing Cake. We'll be able to get out with that perfect execution. We'll manage to slip away as the rocket barely does not hit. But it is going to net the 3 grubs over to XG, and I think they even have an opportunity once they take these to rotate down and try and contest for Dragon as well.
Yeah, that was a pretty scary rocket. If that goes through, I'd say this game is looking entirely over for the early game at least. They need to find a miracle play with the help of the Corki. Jinx has the collector inventory, Corki grabbing it up as well, so AD carry's at least very even. There isn't a big lead in the bot lane, and if you're able to play through Corki, you could potentially still get yourself back in this game, but it's looking pretty scary if you are IDI here.
Yeah, still plenty of game left to play, but for now, XG enjoying around a 2,500 gold lead for themselves. Another plate over to Earl King as Dragon is started up by IDI, and I think it might just go over uncontested. We're seeing Zafa and Pac rotate up, but I don't think they've got any way to contest this without Phoenix in the area. This should just go over, and yeah, that's just 1-1 in Dragons, 3-3 in Grubs. I'm feeling a lot of deja vu from game number 1.
Rigor Mortis has to be careful here. Galio's TPing in with the Grand Entrance here.
Yeah, has that Hall of Radiance completed, so did opt for the magic resist for the laning phase, and yeah, that's the trade pattern, all right. Blazing Cake trying to do some extra damage back, but how do you hurt the Galio when you don't have as much damage left in your inventory?
Yeah, gonna need to get the pen pretty quickly if you want to actually stay in it. Obviously, the Sork Boots getting nerfed is not exactly optimal for this pick. So, makes it a lot harder as Galio's just gonna push down this turret, and maybe with the grubs even grab up one plate. While Terry's making this look pretty tough for CB Batman. Nice weaving of the Qs there. Nice 300 damage chunk there, grabbing more grasp stacks. I think the Camille currently has more HP than this Cassante.
Yeah, it helps that the Trinity Force has a good chunk of HP on it, and like you said, those grass procs putting in some work. It's what happens when you get to be a lane bully in the early game. As again, we've got a kind of quiet early game outside of those couple of kills that we saw. It's been a lot of farming and a lot of just passive play. I think really important that XG don't want to play a fast game here. They have a scaling Jinx, and they have a comp that works really well at making sure that she can just... Something drops in my background. Apologies for that. They can just do a great job of making sure that Zappa is able to stay alive and play the game however they really want. And speaking of playing the game how they want, Glacial Prison is still going to find Mystic, but with the flash, the Corki will remain safe.
Yeah, just going to keep the game pretty solid. They're not going to look for anything too crazy. They are going to force down the turret, at least to get the push in. And now Earl King is here using the pressure on the lane. Wave comes through.
Nice tidal wave onto 2. Phoenix Flare, though, tanking up with that wild growth. Gets bubbled, but they'll donate another kill over to Zappa. A killing spree now for the Jinx. Maybe looking to clean up, though. Phoenix Flare tanking up the turret, making sure that Lulu won't die as Earl King gets that grand entrance in. It's just too little too late. But Blazing Cakes wants to find the kill with the heal and the polymorph, keeping Lulu alive. Zappa now frontlining against the Akali. Scary things, but now with Earl King to support. Blazing Cakes now in a little bit of trouble. Flashes away from the taunt. Will be able to survive, but the Justice Punch knocks her down as Zappa will find another. Goes on a rampage.
Just on a knife's edge there. If Blazing Cake just commits in the bot side, could have potentially just won that fight. Kind of 4v1 basically, with the help of the turret there, but you know, just slightly unoptimal conditions there is going to make it so Akali can't grab too much, but at least getting one kill on your Akali is nice acceleration that you are going to need. Goes for the rocket belt, is actually going to commit to the Merc treads, so I'd expect call,
honestly.
I agree. I just think you need to get pen early somehow, so maybe go straight towards a Shadow Flame, or even just going for the Void Staff early on might be a good option.
Your second item Void Staff here? I mean, Lichbane did recently get buffed, and Akali does like that item. It's got 110 or so AP on it now. It's actually a good damage item.
Yeah, a lot of AP,
doing a little baiting, doesn't get that Pathmaker into Terry, though. Still trying to path his way out, but Terry maybe wants to just make a fight out of it. Doesn't have the Hexic ultimatum, so can't get a pure engage. He's going to look for a little bit more onto CB Batman, though, as Blazing Cake is going to be forced over the wall. But now Terry overextended a little bit too much, and Blazing Cake should have the damage with that perfect execution. Not even necessary. He's going to find that kill, but now he's going to get locked up. But 3v2 XG, these tanks just don't have the damage. A Shuriken flip, a kick, a flip over. Blazing Cake fiending on these tanks. Rigor Mortis will find the kill, and IDI come back with a nice little trade on the top side.
Yeah, just having your Camille take so much damage early on in that fight was just super rough. And yeah, the Akali's getting pretty strong now. I think once you go back, you're going to have at least another component. And I will say for the Lichbane, that is definitely a possibility, since Lichbane loves having melee champions to actually be able to continuously proc all of these empowered shurikens.
Ooh, tidal wave. Teleport in on the backline as well. CB Batman still has that ulti as well. Polymorph in will keep Pox safe for a little bit longer, but Zappa just wants to try and find the trade. Lethal tempo stacked. The barrier procced. Zappa with the nerves of steel, flashing forward in the 1v2, finds the kill.
Yeah, I mean, the polymorph just comes through and CB Batman doesn't react to it. It just gets polymorphed immediately without clicking W. Blazing Cake taking a lot of damage, just trying to catch this wave. Should have no kill threat here. Rocket does come through. Rigor Mortis going to tank it up.
You got it. Nice catch there, Rigor Mortis. And I think you were mentioning early on in the game that while this matchup isn't awful for Akali, it sure is annoying. And by God, if I'm Blazing Cake, I am steaming right now.
I think I'm just disturbed if I'm Akali. It's like, why does this exist? I think that's the
Why is he allowed
that's
to
the
build a
proper.
tank item and match my damage?
Yeah, I think that's the proper response here. I feel like there's a lot of that. As now they're going to cut mid. They want to grab the wave here. Casante does actually have the inside track here in the rivers. Looking for Jinx and Lulu on the backside. They're going to lose control of Banana Brush. Actually put another ward in, so kind of even at this point. Rift Herald also in the pocket, so they're just going to commit straight to walking towards the bot side. But Wild Terry is in the area, so Blazing Cake has to TP over, and this fight's looking awkward positioning-wise.
Yeah, the Rift Herald is going to get the charge in, but with no wave to get some extra pressure, they won't achieve very much. It will net IDI control over this pit, and it's another Chemtech Soul. Shocking that we get 2 in a row, but a little bit less value this time around. I feel CB Batman trying to be the frontliner. Gets a nice flip onto Earl King, but can they keep Phoenix Flare out of the pit? Rigor Mortis just wants to take this dragon. A nice tidal wave is going to keep the tanks out. Phoenix Flare gets in, though. It's a smite fight. It's taken by Rigor Mortis again. The grand entrance is going to find some knockoffs on some important targets, but a nice little unstoppable from CB Batman will keep him alive. Wild Growth used on Earl King. Blazing Cake over the wall, maybe looking for an angle, but doesn't have the perfect execution anymore. And XG are just going to start walking all over the fight. CB Batman, though, gets a nice Pathmaker, lots of true damage. Now Rigor Mortis in with the Cyclone. The health bars, they're so low. I said it was XG, but IDI from behind. A beautiful play from Blazing Cake and CB means that XG are scattered to the winds. Terry will be shut down in just momentarily as Blazing Cake wants to find one more auto here. A little shuriken stab. Triple kill for the Akali.
Yeah, that was a huge fight there for IDI, and I gotta give a good shout out there to Rescued. Finds the bubble on the Camille to actually save Corki there. And Casante did Casante things and stalled out the fight just long enough for Blazing Cake to be able to finally re-enter the fight using the Blast Cone. And it looked good there for IDI, and they're gonna come away with quite a gold lead and a Drake there. Rigor Mortis kind of hits true with these smites, hasn't missed one just yet.
Yeah. That really did feel like XG's fight to win. It felt like they were just bowling them over with their HP totals, but they just kept getting shifted down and didn't have the damage to finish off any of those last hits. And it's kind of the problem with the Jinx composition. If your Jinx isn't free firing for the entirety of the fight, if she isn't able to clean up and start resetting, you don't have the damage, you don't have the kills. And now, Blazing Cake with the 5 kills in inventory did pick up the Lich Bane. Happy to have called that one out, and now is going to be a certifiable threat for this backline to deal with. And Pac, you only have one polymorph, and you've got to deal with Casante, Wukong, Corki, and now a Fed Akali. Pick your targets well.
Yeah, this is a rough one, but I'll give one specific shout out in that last fight as well to CV Batman. I think it looked really scary in that fight because Wild Terry was just running down the Corki and the Galio could follow up, but Galio gets abducted by CB Batman into the Dragon Pit, and the whole fight just changes because they have to go chase this Casante down if they want to save the Galio. So, yeah, I think it's pretty well played.
The Pathmaker onto a couple of targets there. That an ability, when he goes all out, now does a massive amount of true damage and really ended up chunking out a huge amount of the XG members as Terry potentially looking to counter a dive here. Does have the Hextech Ultimatum and Flash, so outplay potential as you're going to use the teleport from Earl King to try and dissuade this. Terry now wants to try and find an engage, but maybe just testing the waters with that hookshot wall dive as everyone will just walk away from the play.
Yeah, well advised there to just walk away. You want to just take your summoner spell advantage when you get them, and you maybe could just get a Galio too. Oh.
Yeah, they're going to get the flash out of him at the very least, but Blazing Cake wants more, has that shuriken flip and the perfect execution over the wall. Rigor Mortis is here with the Cyclone and another beautiful tidal wave. Rescued sets the team up for success, and they're going to knock the targets down while Terry forced to flash away and use the Hextech Ultimatum defensively. IDI are running this game number 2.
Yeah, now they're going to go straight to the Baron, and Corki absolutely shreds it. Actually, never mind. I'm just a liar. They're going to TP towards bot. That should be the sign to just go for the Baron. As soon as the Camille TP's bot, they're giving this Baron. They don't want it. But they're not confident in this play, so they're just going to grab up the top lane turret, push out the mid wave, and go for resets, and actually just match on the bot side. So, yeah, a little bit different than how I would have played it, but they're going to go for the much safer call. They feel confident in their lead. They don't need to go for any flips here. That could potentially lose them the game.
I do worry about this game going late as all out on the bottom side. CV wants to find the 1v1, but Terry, even without that Hextech Ultimatum, is a fairly scary Camille. The fight is close, but CV Batman, away from the Mega Death Rocket as well, finds the 1v1.
Yeah, and that's why you gotta be scared of this Casante. Hey, I'm gonna be honest. He did not hit that many abilities to be able to kill the Camille.
He pressed Q, I think, a couple of times there. He did hit his W once, which is his big damage ability when he goes all out. So obviously he deserved to win that 1v1, right? Right, guys? Casante's not broken again, right, guys? We reworked it for what, like a 5th time now, right, guys? Right?
Yeah, you're so right. Wow. Yeah. Moving on. This Galio is looking pretty strong. I think the only strong member currently. Actually, the Jinx should be strong in all scenarios except for maybe this one with Wukong, K'Sante, Akali on your head.
Yeah, if Zappa is able to auto attack, probably the best champ in the game, but trying to auto attack versus, like you said, Akali, K'Sante, Wukong is just such a task. It's so difficult as Blazing Cake maybe in a little bit of trouble. Ooh. Does have the Proto Belt and the perfect execution, so we'll just flip dash her way out of there and be absolutely fine.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just find this game so hard to play now. The Corki is also a big threat. You're walking the Nami utility as well. K'Sante can push on the side lane for free because the Camille can't actually match. Yeah, it's looking pretty rough.
That's an insane thought that Camille can't match K'Sante in a 1v1. I think once she finishes Ravenous Hydra, maybe that 1v1 goes differently, but until that point, K'Sante is going to be king of the side lane.
Yeah, and K'Sante's indexing just straight up all, armored since Galio was. Yeah, Galio can't really do anything in this game because not a damage pick for the most part. You're gonna have some on the top with the Riftmaker there, but it really isn't that monumental. Which means, K'Sante's just gonna be impossible to kill unless the all-out comes through. But then you have a different sort of problem.
Yeah. Then instead of him being unkillable, he's threatening to kill you, which. When you have your squishy Jinx and your Lulu is trying to protect her, makes life difficult.
Yeah. Also, the Wukong, I'd say, kind of silently is actually quite strong. You can't.
Yeah, 2.5 items.
Denies a lot of Galio's kind of utility here. This is a pretty scary position.
Uh-oh. Batman wants to pull Camille away. Has that all out as Terry has the hookshot wall dive. Has to just escape the 1v1. Doesn't manage to get the Q3 lined up in time, so Terry will manage to walk away. Ulti still intact, but yeah, until that Ravenous Hydra was finished, this is what the side lane looks like.
I don't even know if you could win a 1v1 as soon as K'Sante backs. That's just so much gold into their pocket, especially since it's going to be the Thornmail for sure.
Yeah, if he picks up a Bramble Vest, it's kind of just over, isn't it? I'm worried for what happens when this gold flips over, because Camille's only hope is being able to out-sustain him when he goes all out, but if he picks up the Bramble, really, what can you do? I feel like I'm just waiting in suspense for horror.
Oh, it's not
the Bramble.
I think that's a Jack show, probably, if I had to guess.
So potentially Terry has an out here with just.
But Jack show for K'Sante, that's a damage item, baby.
It's true.
I'm just gonna walk it out.
Every item for K'Sante is a damage item.
No all out here, so could actually be in a scary position.
Yeah, Hextech Ultimatum available as well. There's the Unstoppable. Taunt is not going to be able to connect, so Batman will be able to get a little bit farther away. Now the TP in from Blazing Cake. Suddenly XG are the ones on the run. Blazing Cake onto the backline. They're going to use that perfect, that grand entrance just to keep Terry alive, but Blazing Cake still does a lot of damage. Bubble's going to land onto Earl King, but the Justice Punch will go through it, but they're fighting 2v5. The rest of IDI have rotated over, and now Earl King, you are stuck on the wrong side of the map, my friend. Pac and Zaffa are here, but I don't know if they can do anything for the Galio. Earl King is going to be able to flash away. We'll survive, but you're using these summoners and these tools defensively when you really need to be finding picks.
Yeah, XG, it's slipping away from them. They had such a good early game, but K'Sante doing K'Sante things and a couple of bad fights in the mid game is really making it hard. Mystic's going to dodge away. It's barely not going to attack rescued.
Yeah, Earl King teleports back in, doesn't have Grand Entrance or Flash. And there's that Mega Blast comes, and Rigor Mortis will just be able to walk away. No taunt even threatened there, and XG will get control of the Dragon Pit, but the Dragon isn't up for another 2 minutes. They're fighting over scraps here. They're looking for just any potential at finding some shutdown gold, finding a pick, finding any control in this game, but
they need the Jinx to be in the map, but the problem is you're versing champs that actually move across the map pretty quickly. Corki, Nami, both have some sort of movement to actually get across the map, while you just have the Lulu W speed to kind of just get back into these fights. But, if the entire enemy team's there first, you're not going to be able to auto anybody by the time your front line is shredded. So I think this game is It's looking really scary. Akali now matching the Camille, so it's going to be a little bit different of a look, but I don't even think Camille could threaten solo kill.
Roken gets a little poke onto CB. I think moving towards a Leandry's next item, just to try and threaten this Cassante that little bit more, punish him for not building a lot of magic resist, but I don't know if it's going to do enough. XG really are hoping for a miracle fight here. Some fight where Jinx just gets a random assist, a random kill where she can start to reset and pop off, because this is a 3-item Jinx with a Lulu in her back pocket, with a Galio and a Sejuani in front of her. She should be a verifiable threat, but it's just so difficult for Zafa to actually pilot these fights. And you start to look at this Jinx early pick in the draft and question whether the Ashe might have been a better pick. And given how Earl King was performing in game 1, let him play the carry.
Yeah, I think for these fights, it's so hard because the character you would think you want to pick is the Akali, but now has the Zhonya's. And also, when you're playing Jinx, there are 2 champions in this game that just skip neutral, you know? We're going back to melee. You got Wukong and Akali, who both just skip neutral to go past into your backline. That makes it very hard to play Jinx here. If you get knocked up by Rigor Mortis, you could just potentially be dead immediately. So it's definitely not easy.
Yeah,
and,
to put it in fighting game terms, Jinx is playing a zoner while Wukong and Akali are playing rushdown, but these rushdowns also have a teleport attached to them, so it's really hard for the zoner to actually stay away and get her damage in.
No, sorry.
Earl King finds a taunt onto Rigor Mortis, but it's just on Rigor Mortis. Flash out from rescue, so the Nami may be a viable target, but is that really the target you want to be engaging a team fight on? I don't think it is. You keep your eyes on Blazing Cake, though, on this flank. Earl King going to try and sniff it out, but maybe just going to look for a little bit of damage onto the Galio instead. Rigor Mortis gets some poke in, but not a lot else, as Phoenix Slayer is going to get to heal back up to 100% with that Warmogs. And
this is as good as fight as they're going to get. Cassante's not here, but they want to cut the mid wave, get it early, but that's going to give up all control. They are calling to give the soul, it kind of looks like, but they just want Blazing Cake to overextend.
They want something here. Earl King looking for some entrance, and Phoenix Slayer is going to dive onto the backline, but not much else, as there's the polymorph used onto the Wukong. They might have found their pick, but flash out. Rigor Mortis will stay alive, and Phoenix Slayer is the one to fall first. Teleport's now coming in for both top laners, but CB is here first and is here much closer. Bubble's going to land as Terry's going to try and put some pressure onto the backline, but the soul is here, and now where is your damage? XG! IDI has scaled, and they are here to play the video game. Soul confirmed for them, as CB is just going to start channeling that back. It's going to get stopped by Zafa, but a minor consolation prize. As you lose the soul, you lose the fight, and probably end up losing the series on this game number 2.
I saw one singular window. I think if XG wanted to win that game, Zafa had to have flashed forward to kill Rigor Mortis. I think that was the only way. And it would have been risky, but at this point, the game is so far out of your grasp. You have to go for a hero play, and that might have been the one. You still had the wild growth there, so you could actually peel just a little bit, but yeah, it's so scary. I understand where Zafa's at. It's like, oh, if I just get one good fight, it could just go our way, but at this stage, it's just so tough, and you were given a pretty good window. So much damage went down onto the Akali, and also the Wukong there, but the kills just didn't come through.
Yeah, it was, again, that moment where you kind of have to just, to put it in terms, Jack, you love it. You got to flash forward, and if you get the kill, you look like the best player in the game, but if you just end up dying, it looks like you really threw the game for your team. But at this point in the game, like you said, you need those hero plays. You need someone who's going to step up and say, okay, if I make this play and it works, it's back in our hands. And into a comp like this IDI team, it's so difficult to find those moments, to find those windows, like you said, that one window of opportunity where they could look for a turn, look for a pick, look for that reset. It's just this time they couldn't find it.
Yeah, I mean, the gold lead is not actually that significant, but it's really just how the compositions work, since Camille isn't stronger than Cassante in the side lane. That's pretty rough. And then also Akali gets to skip a lot of the threat of the Galio once it gets towards the mid game.
Yeah, especially now with the Chemtech Soul. I mean, Earl King is going to look for a potential kill here, but you're getting some extra damage onto Akali, who has teleport, has soul. She's fine to just continue to walk away, and you're still not here for your team, who is now fighting 4v4. pressuring IDI off of Baron. They're worried about the threat without their Akali as they're looking for a pick. They've got into Rigor Mortis, but it's just under the clone. Lots of damage negated thanks to that Nami wave, and now the teleport's going to come in for both of these mid laners. CB Backman into the back line. He's got the Hex Ultimatum on top of him, but they found Zappa. There's no more heroes for XG. The heroic entrance comes in, but it's too little too late. The bat signal is already turned off. It's a double kill for Mystic. Now Blazing Cake is going to start to chase down Pac, but I think it's just consolation prizes. It's just padding the stats. Legendary on the Akali. They're going to take the Baron, and IDI comfortably taking game number 2.
Yeah, they grab the Baron. I mean, it's pretty much over at this point. There really is nothing. Again, I saw a window. You know, you just have to risk it. You have to just flash forward, find the damage when your team finds the hard-to-find CC. But the wave was actually very well timed there from Rescue to actually deny a flash in. You would have had to just tank that if you wanted to actually get the damage on top. So pretty well played there from IDI, but you know, at some point the aggressive play had to be made, and it's going to cost them.
And XG, after starting this series so strong again for the first 35 minutes of game number 1, looking like they were arguably the best team in the league, but now in game 2, collapsing after that quick win from IDI, just snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. And again, if you watched this series from just game number 2, you would say, yeah, obviously IDI were going to win. They were ahead in the standings. They've been ahead this whole game. They've been playing it so well. How could you even have thought that XG were going to win? But the scoreline of this series does not tell the story.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate, but I would also say this is most likely XG's final kind of contention game, because I think if they lose this, they're probably out of playoff.
There he is going to get away. Blazing Keek does have that second proc of the R2, but a nice stun timing from Wild Terry means they'll find the shutdown. Zappa gets the kill, but you get some extra gold. You lose your mid lane inhibitor. If they use that shutdown over to the Jinx, so some extra gold in their pocket, maybe getting that 4th item, but it doesn't matter at this point in the game.
Some life, at least. You know, you don't go out completely just lifeless, so they're going to find one pick on the top side, and now they need to convert it into some pressure, either vision-wise or, you know, maybe set up a death bush, something like that, where you can get the jump on the other team, because you still have a lot of setup CC with a good damage behind it. It's just, can you find the window? Can you find the opportunity? It really comes down to just that, and they don't have any trap plays set up. I would like to see someone at least shadow Terry, since it seems like been a pretty big focus on the side lane to make sure that this Camille does not have free time to push at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if Batman just TPs down to the bot side in just a second.
Yeah, they need to cover the Camille, but again, they're feeling like so comfortably in the lead at this point, and Objective Bounty is not going to change the pace of this game. Truly, it's still 5,000 gold ahead for Iridescent Dawn, and the players can never see the gold leads as clearly as we can, but you can hit tab, you can see the Fed Akali, you can see the Fed Cassante, you can see the shutdown golds available for these members of IDI. And you know you're behind, you're looking at a soul, which also adds those extra stats that don't show up into the gold grass, and it just gets rougher and rougher the later this game goes. And early on in the game, I was thinking, oh, a slow game. This is great for XG. You're playing the Jinx comp, but she's allowed to scale up, play the late game, free hit with these tanks in front of her. This is a perfect game for her, but looking at the other side, the Akali, the Cassante, this Wukong, these backline threats that, as we keep saying, they skip neutral. They're here to play the game. They're here to rush you down, and that's all they care about.
Yeah, they're now going to go for the Elder. This could flip the game. This is really dangerous.
A little bit of misplay on the CC there. Terry will manage to escape from it. It's a nice heroic entrance onto the back line. They have found the Akali. Zonya's burned, but she's on a quarter HP. He's going to be able to flash out and get healed up. But where's the threat now? Rigor Mortis can't get the Cyclone onto Zappa, who's free firing, but there's CV Batman. He's finally going to get polymorphed up, but Zappa still not under too much threat. Cassante finally able to get the damage in. There's the second Cyclone. Rigor Mortis shuts them all down. It's a double kill over to Mystic. It looked good momentarily for XG, but the wind snuffed out from beneath them. Terry will try and find a 1v1 with Mystic, but even if you do, it's traded 1 for 1. It's an ace for IDI. The Nexus turrets are the target, and they're looking for a clean sweep in this series.
Yeah, that's going to be GG there. IDI and Blazing Cake, you know, they get away with a close one in the game 1, but game 2 really showing their chops, and they're going to make it look pretty clean overall. Definitely assisted there by the objectives they gathered in the end there. And yeah, I'd say a pretty well played game overall from IDI. No big mistakes
Yeah.
that I can think of.
No big mistakes, and honestly, I don't even really think that XG made a lot of mistakes either. It was really just a couple of key moments that Akali getting that triple kill and starting to get really fed, snowballing her lead out of mid lane when Galio before that could handle her, but after that was just such a problem that nobody could deal with. And again, skipping neutral, jump into the back line, it's Jinx's worst nightmare. You can't free hit if you're getting dove by everybody on the IDI team.
Yeah, so the Jinx may have been strong. It just doesn't matter. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. In the current state of League of Legends, that's why people don't play Jinx. I mean, people were talking about this World Championships, like, hey, guess what? Jinx is pretty strong. I think we'll see a lot of Jinx, and then we just saw absolutely none of it.
Yone got popular, Aurora got popular, Rel was a really big pick, and
Oh yeah, Aurora. Oh yeah.
The utility 80 carries shown true, and even with Corki being so strong, I think we saw it there in game number 2. If they was a utility carry for either of those sides, it was the support. So these Enchanter players putting on such a good performance over the course of this series. A great showing from both teams. XG, I think, really had game number 1. If they win that, we go to game number 3, and maybe this is a different story, but IDI took the short win on game number 1, took a fast win in game number 2, and that's going to be it from us. IDI is going to move up to 4-2 and be in contention still for that top 4. And I do think there's a possibility that Exalted can still push for playoffs. If they get to 4-4, there's a chance, but a lot of it is now going to be out of their hands. It's going to be a rough path for them, but that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us. I've been What's Pretty. That's been Golden Gad. Chris Lunga, our producer in the back, making sure everything runs as smoothly as possible. We'll see you all next week for the last regular season week of, not last regular season week. We got 2 more weeks of the regular season here in the Vanquisher League. Take care.
Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for me. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are